What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Too Pop to Handle. I'm your host, Andrew Nucatola, your pop culture best friend. And as always, I hope you guys are having a fabulous week. I hope all of my lovebirds out there had a very nice Valentine's Day. My boyfriend and I had a very chill, laid back Valentine's Day, and it was honestly perfect. We saw a dog skateboarding in Washington Square Park. We went to an art gallery. We had a few tequila sodas at a gay bar. We had ramen for dinner. It was very low key, very just enjoying each other's company wherever the road took us, and it was very nice. It was we don't do all the thrills and the excitement of Valentine's Day. We buy each other little gifts, nothing too crazy, and then just enjoy each other's company. So it was fabulous. I hope you guys all celebrated accordingly. Also, happy Lunar New Year to everybody who is celebrating. You guys know I love New Year. So any turn of the times for any culture, religion, whatever it is, I will always find a way to celebrate. It is the year of the horse, which we will get to in just a little bit because Beyonce is up to some bullshit yet again. But happy Lunar New Year to everybody out there who is celebrating. I also, for the first time in my life, I'm pretty sure, I had off for President's Day this year. I don't think I have ever had a job where I've had off for President's Day. And there's not much to celebrate about our president this year. There's actually little to absolutely nothing to celebrate about our current president, but I will take a 3-day weekend anytime they want to give it to me. I will happily take, an extra day off if they want to throw it at me. So obviously I had to celebrate in some way. So I took advantage of the fact that we had off on Monday, and I did a double feature showing of Wuthering Heights and Pillion at AMC, and it was fabulous. It was such a nice little Sunday night outing. I was at the movie theaters for 5 hours, which I've never done before. And I thought I was going to go a little stir crazy, but I gave myself a 30-minute break in between. And it really did just kind of give me a little time to just refresh, come back down to earth, and then get back into the second movie. And we're going to talk all about Wuthering Heights in just a little bit, as you can tell from the title. But I need to talk to you guys about Pillion because I cannot stop thinking about this movie. It's a new gay A24 movie, and it was incredible. It was so good. And seeing a storyline like this, a gay storyline that isn't just a typical, two gays meet and they, their family doesn't like them, so they can't come out or whatever. It wasn't that at all. It was very much leaning into this BDSM kind of dom sub kind of kink culture, which I feel isn't something that is not something that's really brought into the mainstream often. And, though A24 movies, some of them do become bigger conversations in culture, A24 movies aren't always the forefront, leading the pack for every single award season. But I do think that this movie has a really big spot in just bringing these storylines to life and showing people that gay relationships, similar to heated rivalry, seeing this media that is showing and depicting gay relationships in so many different forms. I feel it's really just opening people's eyes to all the different ways gay people kind of exist, because there is so many, and of course in heterosexual and lesbian relationships as well. But I just feel seeing all of this media lately about just portraying the different ways that gay couples and gay men and just, the way that media is portraying gay people over the last so many years, seeing it now in a different light has been really exciting as a gay person. And I hope just for anybody who is enjoying queer media also is feeling that way. What I want to say about Pillion, though, is that it was literally 500 Days of Summer if Summer was a dom top and made Tom sleep on the floor with a padlock necklace on. I'm going to do this with as little spoilers as possible because I really do want everybody listening to go see this movie because I thought it was excellent. It was definitely heartbreaking in the way that La La Land and 500 Days of Summer is heartbreaking, where the characters are going to go on and be okay, but watching their story kind of build up and then whatever happens to it, that I guess that is kind of a spoiler, but you can assume where the movie is going as you're watching it, so I apologize there. But it just really it gives you this devastating, I don't want to call it a love story because it's very clearly not a love story. The same way 500 Days of Summer is not a love story. We aren't watching two people fall in love. We're watching two people who are looking for two very different things become this coupling that one person wants the relationship and one person is kind of just passing time. I made a whole TikTok that's up on my personal page. I'll have it linked down below about the comparison and things like that. So if you want to watch my deeper analysis into it, you can head to my TikTok and watch that. But if you liked 500 Days of Summer and you like that kind of there's almost like a silver lining to a sad story, if that makes sense, within these kind of movies. Same with La La Land, like I said, where like they end up not together at the end, but like there's a silver lining and we kind of see them go on and they're moving on to the next chapter of their life. We're watching, sometimes movies feel like it's a capsule of somebody's entire life and it's like beginning to end and you know everything about them. And then you have movies like this where it does just kind of serve as a chapter and you kind of are left open-ended to wonder what happens to these characters as time goes on. And I always joke that I could write a 30-page thesis paper on 500 Days of Summer alone, just because I think that movie is so rich and there's so much depth to the characters and the way that they approach the situation. And I not quite had the same didn't have like the same strong feeling that I do with that movie with Summer and Tom as I did with Colin and Ray, who are the characters in Pillion, but like maybe a 10-page research paper on Pillion and just the little nuances that they do and the way that like Ray, who was played by Alexandra Skarsgård, who was incredible in this movie. The entire cast was great, but like the two main characters were incredible in this movie. And you felt for them, like you understood what they were going through. And like, you knew that like this was, they were very much like Ray, who's played by Alexander Skarsgård, was set in his ways. He knew what he wanted. And then Colin, his name is Henry something, I believe. It's slipping my mind. But they like both have these two different character arcs and somehow they get like twined together. And it's just this like beautifully twisted, sad, but also there's like humor elements to it. It was just such a well done, great movie. I really loved it. And it was very short, which I feel like isn't a thing anymore. Usually you're sitting in a movie theater for at least 2.5 hours. This was an hour and 45. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. I was in and out of that theater. It was fabulous. I absolutely loved it and I cannot recommend it enough. And like I said, I did see Wuthering Heights as well, which we will get into in just a little bit because I have so much to chat about because the discourse around this movie has just been so, there's a lot going on. And now that I have seen it, I have questions and I have a lot of thoughts, as most podcast hosts do. So let's keep this show rolling and let's get into our first segment of the show. You guys know the drill. We always start our show with our Drew releases, our new music releases from last week and our new releases coming up this week. And I need to start this off with an apology first things first, because I had my dates all mixed up. Last week's episode, I was saying how the only release we had coming up last week was Hilary Duff. That's coming out this week, not last week. So this upcoming week, we have Hilary Duff's album that I'm so excited for it coming out. But we had so many releases last week, some that came out that I didn't even realize were coming out, some that were on my radar of like some of my most anticipated albums of the year. So I apologize for, the mishap there. But let's get into these releases because they were stacked. First things first, we had Hemlock Springs, her album, The Apple Tree Under the Sea, one of my most anticipated albums of the year. And she's so unique in so many different ways, in her vocal styles, in her production styles, in the way that she writes. She has this way of like telling stories through her songs and using the different instruments and the different techniques that she does with her production that really just like moves a song along really uniquely. I've been talking about these singles for the last few months as they've been rolling out, and I've been saying how excited I am for this album. It met every single expectation. The album is fantastic. I think she's a really just something we need in pop music and like alternative pop kind of vibes, because she's not like your Sabrina Carpenter bubblegum pop kind of vibe, which we love, but she's not that. She definitely has more of like almost like a Rachel Chinariri, Charlie XCX kind of like crossover hybrid. That's not even the right way to describe it. She just has a very unique sound, and I am loving this album. I think it is such a treat to hear somebody who has such a unique vision for their art, and really she sticks to her vision and her branding so well. Like even her singles and the things that she has put out prior to this album, they feel like they fit in this universe so well. I'm obsessed with this album. I am loving it. I think Hemlock Springs is about to have a huge year, and I cannot wait to just watch her kind of continue to soar as she goes through this era. It is fantastic. She's doing a lot of US festivals this year, and she's touring as well. She has like her own tour going on. So if you listen to the album and you want to go like support a girl and, get out there and listen to some of these funky little tunes, she is going on tour and I will be seeing her at Gov Ball. I cannot wait. We also had a release from BB Rexa, the first single from her new visual album, Dirty Blonde, which I wrote all about in my newsletter. So if you want to learn kind of about this new approach that BB's taking to this new album she's putting out, head over to our Substack. It'll be linked down below. But she released the first single from this album called I Like You Better Than Me. I'm loving it. It is very much what you would expect a Baby Rexha song to sound like in the best way possible. Like, I think this was a really smart move for her to release this first, because it wasn't a unfamiliar sound from BB, but it still was fun and like a fresh kind of sound. You know, she kind of genre hops in the way that she collabs with people. She kind of jumps around different places and they find a way to put her on a bunch of different songs. And I think she has a really what's the word I'm looking for? A creative spin on the way that she's doing this. You know, it's a whole visual album. She's independent now. You know, she's begging to get out of the Kia asylum, as we spoke about it a few weeks ago. I think she has a really fun vision for this album, and I'm very excited to see how she continues to roll this out. She's releasing like a single or two every week leading up to the album in June, which I think is crazy. But I think this was a really strong first single for this album, and I'm very excited to see where she continues to go from this. We also got a release from Flower of Love, who you guys know I love, a new single called Casual Lady. This is very like Sabrina Carpenter coded in like the tempo and the rhythm. It's very fun, very like girly, poppy, but like it still feels unique to her. I really love it. She's just very fun. It's about like, you know, going from this like casual hookup woman, it's called Casual Lady. And like, she's like, I was a casual lady, now I'm falling in love and I can't, you know, I'm like obsessed with this guy, whatever kind of thing. Just like a tale as old as time. You know, we've all been there where we're like, oh, I'm not going to fall for this guy. We're just a fling. And the next thing you know, you're like obsessed with this guy and like calling 911 because you don't know how to handle this kind of like heart attack that you're getting from this man. That's what the song covers. I love it. I love her voice. I love her, just her sound. She's very like girly pop, fun vibes. I am loving her. We've talked about her a lot on the show. And I'm again, similar to like Hemlock Springs, I think they're both going to have very big years. And I'm really excited to see how they kind of continue to just like take over the culture and like continue to ride this wave that they are on, because we need more of this. We need more like people, we need more people who like know who they are as an artist as they're coming onto the scene. And of course we always applaud evolving and, you know, finding new sounds and stuff, but like the way that they're approaching their careers right now, it's really cool to see that they're just like so sure of who they are so early in their career and really get a full rounded experience from what they're releasing. Very, very into what Flower of Love is doing right now. And we also got a release from Lana Del Rey this week. I told you guys, this was a stacked list this week. We had Lana, who released her new single, White Feather Hawk Tail Deer Hunter, which is the most Lana Del Rey-ass title I have ever heard in my life. Like, we know she loves a random title generator for a song, for an album. Like, she loves a lengthy-ass title. And I mean, White Feather Hawk Tail Deer Hunter, pretty fucking long, very Lana Del Rey coded. I appreciate Lana for her art. I think she is a brilliant songwriter. I think she is so talented. She has a beautiful voice. But I honestly haven't been vibing with Lana for the last couple years. And it's not because I don't think the music is good. It's just not music that I find myself wanting to go back to. Like, I don't know the last time I listened to a Lana album and I was like obsessed with it. Like I haven't really had an album. I did like Honeymoon, but I wasn't like obsessed with it. Like I couldn't go on and like name songs from it. I'm like looking at her discography right now. But like, it's been a minute since a Lana album has really captivated me. Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like Ultraviolence is really the last album that I was really fully tapped into. And like I said, I liked Honeymoon, Lust for Life, Norman fucking Rockwell, I enjoyed, but I wasn't like, again, I can't go on and be like, oh my God, I love this song from that album. Like, I liked it sonically. I understand the art of it, but like, Lana and I just haven't been vibing for the last few years, but like, she gave so much in those early years. I mean, Born to Die, Ultraviolence, those albums, they were really just pieces of art, and like they stand up to the test of time so well. I mean, there's no denying the impact that Lana Del Rey has had on so many of the newer artists that we have seen kind of usher into the music space over the last few years since she debuted. Like, that Born to Die being your debut album is fucking insane. And like that alone will always keep Lana in like an elevated space for me. She is above a lot of other people for that reason alone. I don't necessarily agree with everything, with her husband and things like that. But again, like when your debut album is as good as Born to Die, I don't give a fuck what you are doing anymore. I will always find a coveted spot for Lana Del Rey in the Hall of Fame in my heart. But I just don't think this release is for me. And like, that's fine. I understand like the Lana girls, Lana gays, they're going to eat this up with a silver spoon, with a silver fork, and they are going to die for everything Lana does. And I appreciate that because I have my artists that I treat that way as well. Just not vibing with White Feather Hawktail Deer Hunter. And that's fine. We're going to move on from there. The final release that we're going to be covering from this week is Wuthering Heights by Charli XCX. And now this is going to lead us into my conversation regarding the movie Wuthering Heights. I just figured it was like the perfect segue. So we're going to do things a little backwards today. Usually I go music releases, rapid fire, main topic, and then, lead us out from there. We're going to flip it around. We're going to put that thing down, flip it and reverse it this week. We're going to move things around because it's my show and I can do whatever I want. So Wuthering Heights, Charli XCX. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I stopped covering the releases from this album because as we got closer to the movie, I started to realize like these songs might give away some of the plot of Wuthering Heights. And like, we'll get into my knowledge with Wuthering Heights, but it was little to none. It was zero. Like I did not know about the book. I didn't know anything about it. So we'll get into that in a little bit, but I didn't want the Charli XCX songs to start telling the story of the movie. I didn't know how much she was going to give in the album. So I stopped listening to these singles as they were coming out because I wanted to wait until the whole project was out and then until I saw the movie to really digest it. And now that the movie is out, the album is out, this album, incredible. I am loving it. I wasn't sure what to expect because I knew we weren't going to get a whole Brad album, especially just considering the context of the movie and like what I did know about the movie from what I read about it once it was announced. And I knew Charli was on board and all of that. And of course, you can't escape the discourse about it, which again, we will get into. I didn't know what to expect. And as she was releasing the singles, I was like, okay. Like I understand this like dark, haunted kind of vibe to it, but I don't know where we're going to go with it. I love it. The production on this album is so incredibly done. And she said on Twitter or X, whatever the fuck you want to call it, that it is a sister album to True Romance, which is our first time we ever met Charli on an album. That's our first album ever. So for her to release an album in 2026 and call it a sister album to True Romance just was so, I was like, whoa, what are we getting into with this? Like that alone just like sold me on it. And the production styles, the writing styles, like I totally see where she can draw the comparisons between the two. I am loving this album a lot more than I expected to. And you guys know I've been a fan of Charli for a very long time, but you never really know what to expect from her, like what's going to come next, especially with an album like this where it's a companion album and a soundtrack to a movie. This is great. I'm a sucker for a good movie soundtrack. One of the types of like vinyls that I collect is movie soundtracks. I love the way a soundtrack can move a movie along, I love the way that it kind of can accompany a scene and kind of just enhance it more. And the fact that this is a totally original soundtrack for this movie, I think is so cool and such a fun way for Charli to kind of express herself creatively in a whole different way. Out of Myself, Dying for You, My Reminder, Funny Mouth, some of my favorites. I really do love this project as a whole. And the way that the songs fit into the movie, I think really did enhance the movie so well. And they really nailed it with the sound, the vision, and just the way that like Emerald and Charli, you can tell that they really worked together in a sense that like they understood each other's visions very clearly. And what they ended up making, the final product, I think it just worked so well. Like the two of them mixed together similarly to Heathcliff and Kathy. Like their soul, what the fuck is the line? Whatever his soul is made of, mine is too, or whatever fucking shit they were spewing. I don't know, but it felt that way with the soundtrack and the movie. Really, really loving this release. And I really love the way that it intertwined into Emerald's retelling of this story, because I want to make it clear that I understand that Wuthering Heights 2026 is not the book that was released in the 1800s. So let's get into Wuthering Heights because I have so many thoughts. So first things first, like I said, I have never read this book. I knew nothing about this story. I didn't even clock that like it was the book that Bella talks about in Twilight. Like I didn't even make that. Wuthering Heights, those two words together meant nothing to me before I found out about this movie. So call me what you want. Blindsided to the culture. I understand. whatever. That's neither here nor there. You can't change the past. Like I said, I stopped listening to Charli's album as it was coming out because I didn't want it to spoil anything. So what I'm going to say about the movie, just the movie that I saw on Sunday night at my double feature Sunday night President's Day extravaganza at AMC. I loved this movie. I thought it was a great movie. I thought visually it was stunning. I mean, Emerald Fennell, especially if you think back to Saltburn, where that is what inspired her to cast Jacob Elordi as Heathcliff in this retelling adaptation, whatever you want to call it, of this movie. When you look at like Saltburn and things like that, like she's a very visual, and the way that she tells her stories is very beautiful, and this had that same feel that Saltburn did, with like the beautiful shots and the beautiful scenes, and just really it really like pulls you into this world that she's created for these characters and for this movie. And there's really so much detail and richness within the movie, similar to like Greta Gerwig with Barbie. If you think back to, the way that there was so much detail that went into that movie, lots of similarities in that sense with the details that they pay attention to and the way that they're really able to fully immerse you in this world and kind of make you believe that you're in like a real setting of this movie. Like it felt like that was a real place, and like we were watching real people live their lives, which is also obviously compliment to the acting. Jacob Elordi, Margot Robbie were incredible, as were the entire cast. Like the acting tied with the soundtrack, tied with the cinematography, and just the world that Emerald Fennell brought to life in this movie. Absolutely stunning. I loved it. Not to quote Harry Styles, but this is a movie that felt like a movie, like this felt like real cinema. I really did love it. Now, as I said, I don't know much about Wuthering Heights other than the movie. So anybody listening to this who is a novel truther and, is pitchforks at Emerald's door and, is pissed off about it, I hear you. I see you. I understand. I actually chatted with one of my best friends, Shauna. I don't know if she listened to the podcast, but if you do, hey, Shauna. I was chatting with her right before I started recording because she's a huge book girly, and I figured she had read it. And of course she had, because I feel like she's read every single book. She's like one of the smartest people that I know. And I was like, oh, I saw Wuthering Heights over the weekend, and I was giving her my thoughts about it, which I'll get into in a second. But I kind of was getting her take on the book without giving too much of what I was thinking about the movie. And then like as she would give me a little bit about the movie, about the book, I would give her a little bit about the movie. And then I kind of started to realize where they are not alike. The book and the movie, again, this is just from a quick 10-minute text exchange that I had before I sat down to record. But what I will say is that like Wuthering Heights as a story is public domain. It is available for anybody to take, to rewrite, to do anything with. And though, I understand that Wuthering Heights, the book, has a very cult following and it is one of the greatest love stories of all time. I understand that. I get it. But once something is in the public domain, it really is kind of free range to do whatever you want with. And like, I understand that it is a beloved book and a beloved story. And like, people don't want things to be touched. And I'm sure if this was a book that I had read and I loved the way that the people, if I read this book and loved it the way that the internet loves this book and like is up in arms over the changes, I understand. Like I get why we are upset at the differences between the book and the movie. However, we all saw what they did with Winnie the Pooh as soon as Winnie the Pooh was in public domain. Like they made Winnie the Pooh a fucking serial killer basically in that horror movie. Like once things are in the public domain, they're kind of, the world is their oyster, to quote Addison Rae, like it's like you can't, you can get mad, but you have to have this understanding that like once something is in public domain, it is free range to do whatever they want with it. Now, there are certain things that I don't think should have been changed, i.e. the race of Heathcliff, which I'll get into in a little bit. But like, as far as the way that this story was told, it definitely is more of a retelling, It isn't a direct adaptation. It's a retelling, a reimagined version of this story. And now since chatting with Shauna and, just kind of like getting an understanding about the storylines and the plot of the novel versus the movie, I understand that like there's more elements of torment and revenge and obsession, which obsession is definitely a clear through line in this movie. I mean, they are obsessed with each other, but the book isn't as like racy and sex forward as the movie, which makes sense. I mean, when this book was written, it was in the 1800s. They weren't as sex positive. You know, I definitely think they weren't freaky deaky the way that we are in 2026. So I understand, again, that kind of separation and why people are upset about these characters. They were definitely, you know, like lusting over each other, and there was, you know, I'm sure, you know, there were scenes and parts written about, you know, having their moments and whatnot, but like a big part of this movie is the fact that like Heathcliff and Kath are fucking nonstop. Like they cannot keep their hands off each other. They are finding any window to climb through, any carriage to climb into. Like they are finding any excuse to get down and dirty with each other. And like, I understand that is not necessarily the point of Wuthering Heights in the 1800s. And I just think that is what comes with a modern retelling or adaptation of this movie. But just thinking of like other Emerald Fennell movies, I mean, Promising Young Woman, Saltburn, like these are movies that have this element of like kind of throwing you off and being like, wait, whoa, what's going on? So I think like throwing in those racier kind of sex scenes and kind of like amping that up was her way of kind of adding an extra element of surprise into this story that people know, if that makes sense. But so something that really confused me is like during this press tour, which, side note, the looks that Margot Robbie were pulling out on this press tour, unbelievable. I think Margot and Andrew, the stylist she worked with, who she worked with for on Barbie and she worked with for on this one, like they are a match made in heaven. I think they are similar to like Laura Roach and Zendaya. Like they understand each other. They have a clear vision and they just work so well together. The looks that Margot Robbie was pulling out on this press tour made up for the weird shit that Jacob and Margot were doing together. Like I talked about this a couple of weeks ago on the podcast and I was saying how like they are approaching this fucking press tour so strange. Like the way they're talking about each other, the way that they're so obsessed with each other. Like I was like, girl, what are we doing with this press tour? But those press looks, they made up for it. But like so as I'm watching this movie and going into it with the little knowledge that I know about the story, what I knew about it was what Jacob and Margot gave us during the press tour, what everybody was saying online. And during the press tour, Margot kept saying that like the way Jacob was acting in this movie, and again, his acting was great, but she was like, the way that Heathcliff came to life through Jacob and the way that he, you know, I was watching with my girlfriend and like their legs were shaking. He was so sexy. They were quivering and like, oh my God, she was so entranced and in love with him. I didn't get that vibe. Like they were definitely sex scenes, but they were like nothing crazier than what you would see in another movie. Like the way that they were talking about this, I was like, oh, they're about to be like crazy romantic, like hot and steamy sex scenes. And like there definitely were elements of hot and heavy, don't get me wrong, like when they're like making out in the carriage and like they're like, we need to stop doing this, and then she's like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow, and they kiss again. Like that was a little like, ooh, okay, like there's an element of like suspense and like, oh, there's a something so right about doing what's wrong, you know, element to it. But the way that Margot was talking about it and the way that people were talking about this movie after they saw it before me, they were like, oh my God, these sex scenes, I didn't think they were that crazy. Like I didn't think they were that insane. And like, maybe it's because I'm a gay man that like the element of like a straight couple didn't do anything for me. But like, I have watched other things where a straight couple is like getting down and dirty and like, I can still be like, oh, whoa, like I'm into this. Like I can appreciate that. But like watching this, I was just like, am I missing something? Like, am I desensitized to this? Like, I just didn't think it was as racy as everybody was making it out to be. And like, again, there was a lot of sex. There was a lot of, you know, they were kissing here and doing this. And, you know, I think the element of like doing something wrong, like I said, was what really drove that plot of like, oh my God, these sex scenes. But like, I wasn't that gagged by the sex they were having. I was like, all right. And I mean, they're both beautiful people to look at. Like Margot Robbie is one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. And Jacob Elordi, don't get me started on that man. And like watching them kiss, I was like, oh, cool, pretty people kissing. But like, it didn't do anything to me, like physically, emotionally, like it just like, I don't know. I was like, all right, there's just like two people kissing. It didn't give me that like va-va-voom or like, I wasn't like, you know, clutching my pearls or like fanning myself off because it was so hot. I was just like, okay, cool. It's two hot people kissing. Great. All right. Whatever. I don't know. Like, I thought the sex scene between, I'm forgetting the two characters' names, but when Heathcliff and Catherine are watching them through the floorboards and like Heathcliff is covering her mouth and eyes and they're just like, you hear them having sex. I was like, I'm not even watching these people have sex. And like, I'm more into what they're doing because they were getting a little, a little down and dirty. They had like the harness and this and that. I was like, ooh la la, what are they doing down there? But like, that was a little more enticing to me than like anything Heathcliff and Catherine did. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But like I said, I did a double feature with Pillion and Wuthering Heights. And like, it was definitely because they were two gay men, but like, I was more turned on by Pillion than I was Wuthering Heights. And like, they were both very sexually forward movies, but I was like, the way people are talking about Wuthering Heights, like they're walking out and their seat is fucking soaked. I was like, this is not as racy or sexy as you guys are talking about. And especially not for Margot Robbie to be so wrapped up and entranced in Jacob Elordi. And like, again, don't get me started on Jacob Elordi. That man is fine. Like we've all seen Nate Jacobs, and like, maybe this is toxic of me that I find Nate Jacobs more attractive than Heathcliff. That's definitely toxic, but like, I thought Nate Jacobs was a lot sexier than Heathcliff. I'm going to say it. And like, yeah, Nate Jacobs is toxic, but something about it just did it for me. I was like, I don't give a fuck that Heathcliff is climbing in your window and doing all these things. It's like, I don't know why it didn't spark anything for me there. And something else I will never understand is calling a tragedy a love story. Now, this is a little spoilery, so if you don't want spoilers for Wuthering Heights, skip into the next timestamp. They're always linked down below. But like, what is this thing about people calling a tragedy the greatest love story of all time? Like, to me personally, I don't think like this like idea of these two people not doing what they need to be together and they fall in love and they can't be together and they're so distraught and she ends up dying because of it and whatever. I'm like, that's not that romantic to me. Like, that's fucking insane. You guys should have had a therapist and like worked your shit out. Like, if you were so in love with this man and so in love with this woman, why didn't you guys make it work and like figure it out? Like, Heathcliff came back rich as can be. And like, I understand this is the 1800s and like a woman leaving her husband back then was like the end of the world and like it just didn't happen. But like, knowing that Heathcliff and Catherine were so in love and like they like, Catherine literally saw him at his lowest and like he had nothing. And like, that was the whole plot. She was like, I can't be with him because he's not rich and that's not going to set me up for the rest of my life. And whatever it is. Even when he came back and was rich, even if she did leave her husband to go be with him and it was this big, like, this scarlet letter on her and, was like, oh, so ashamed, wouldn't it not matter because she ended up just being with Heathcliff and like, was their love not strong enough? Like, Heathcliff love was strong enough to kill the woman, but wasn't strong enough for her to leave the husband and just like deal with what was going to happen. She would have rather died in that house than leave her husband and deal with the repercussions of like society and wear like a scarlet letter than go be with Heathcliff. Like, it made no sense to me. And like, maybe people see the beauty in that. I don't. I'm like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Get a therapist, leave your husband and go be with the man that you want. And like, maybe it's just me, like, I don't know. Maybe I just don't see romance in that way. Like, to me, I'm like, let's be a little more realistic here. Like, why would you rather lay in your bed and literally die than just like leave the house and walk 5 miles and go to Wuthering Heights to be with Heathcliff? Like, why did it have to be this whole drama? And again, like, sure, maybe that's the beauty in the story. But to me, I'm like, why? Like, just go be with the guy. Like, and the other thing I don't get is like, everyone is like leaving this movie fucking snot nose, crying, eyes are red, like they smoked a fucking bowl, crying so hard. Do we not hear Isabella literally, or Isabella, do we not hear Isabella literally saying the entire plot of Romeo and Juliet the first time we meet her and the first time we see their house? Like, she is explaining the plot of Romeo and Juliet and the tragedy of it and how upsetting and sad it is. She is literally giving away that somebody is going to die in this movie. Like, maybe I'm just getting good at guessing the ending of a movie or a story, but like, they could have said any other story in that scene, and they're talking about two lovers who can't be together, Heathcliff and Catherine, Romeo and Juliet, similar to Pillion with fucking 500 Days of Summer. These are the same stories being told with two different people. Like, they're like she's literally telling a story of a tragedy of people dying because they can't be together and like they're dying for love. Literally the song that Charlie wrote for the movie. Were we not expecting somebody to die at the end of this movie? Like, doesn't somebody always die at the end of an 1800 period piece? Like, it's kind of like what they did back then. It was like they didn't go to therapy, they didn't get help, they didn't talk about their problems, they just died and like lived. Well, they didn't live, they like let everybody else live with it. It's just like, why is everyone so shocked by this ending? I'm like, no offense if you were upset and crying over it. Like, I understand you're emotional and tapped in, and like maybe this is something I should unpack in therapy. That like I was sad by it. It was heartbreaking. It's a heartbreaking story, don't get me wrong, but it's pretty written in the stars within the first 30 minutes of the movie that like somebody's going to die. No, like, is it just me? I don't know. Maybe I'm being harsh. What I'm not being harsh about is the fact that Nelly was a fucking bitch. The maid or whatever she was, I don't know. The fact that she was taking those letters from Heathcliff and burning them and not giving them to Catherine. What a fucking bitch. She is a selfish woman, and they should have let her go. They should have fired her. They should have let her go when they tried to, because that was crazy for her to be hiding those letters from Catherine for all of those months, years, however long it was. I don't care if it was a week, a month, 2 days, 4 hours. I don't care how long it was. She is a selfish little bitch. And I didn't like that character at all. That pissed me off. And like, I understand it adds to this like lust and this longing for each other, because like on one hand, Heathcliff is writing these letters and Isabel's writing these letters to like, oh, I'm so tortured by Heathcliff, and like, yeah, obviously she should have done something about that as well and like tried to save her, but like that's neither here nor there. Like, the real problem in this story is the fact that she was burning these letters and like not giving them to each other. I was just like, what are we doing here? Like, this is so, I don't know. I just like, again, different time. I mean, the 1800s, I wasn't there. I wasn't alive. I don't know how they handle this, but I just was like, thank God we have advanced from this, holding things in, hiding things. Thank God we have therapists. Thank God we have psychiatrists, and like medication is like encouraged these days, because the way that these people were handling things in the 1800s, my God, thank God we have progressed from then, because like shit was crazy. I'm just like confused at like, again, I loved the movie. I thought it was great. I'm just confused at like the way people are reacting to it online, as if like it's not obvious somebody's going to die. And like, this isn't the craziest sex scene we've ever seen in a movie. Like, Heated Rivalry had sexier scenes than Wuthering Heights did. And that's a fact, not a opinion. Like, they were racier and sexier and more like clutching my pearl moment in Heated Rivalry than they were in Wuthering Heights. And I just don't get why people are like wetting themselves, creaming their pants in the movie theaters at the AMC. Let's have some decorum, mind you. At least we were at home watching Heated Rivalry on the couch. You guys are in the AMC freaking the fuck out over Jacob Elordi like kissing Margot Robbie. I'm like, have you never seen two hot people kiss before? Did we not watch Euphoria? Like, this isn't the first time we've seen Jacob Elordi be a little sexy. I just was like, this isn't, I don't know. It just wasn't grasping me in that way. So all of that commotion online, I'm just like, maybe we need to reel it in a little bit. I think everyone's just reacting to it for the bit and like for the like aha internet moment. I don't know. I think the movie was great. I think the movie was such a beautiful, heartbreaking story, but I do think the conversation and the commotion regarding all of that online is a little unnecessary. What I do think is necessary is the conversations about Jacob Elordi's character in the book being a person of color and them casting Jacob Elordi. Like, I do think that was a little crazy of them to do. However, when you think of what Emerald was doing with this story and was doing a retelling, not an adaptation, I guess, sure, you have free range. And again, when things are public domain, they do have free range to do whatever they want with this story. Shauna, who again, I keep bringing up, I think she had a really good point that like, they shouldn't have named this movie Wuthering Heights. They should have renamed it something else, because it's loosely based on, and this is such a crazy exaggeration, but like, it's similar to like The Lion King and Hamlet. Like, The Lion King is based on Hamlet, but like, it's not named the Hamlet King or like the Lion Hamlet or whatever the fuck. Like, there's no tie in the title that you would know unless you know both stories or you do some research. Like, I do think they could have avoided all of these controversies had they just like renamed it to something else and said it was like loosely based on the novel by Emily Bronte, I believe her name is. Like, I think they would have avoided a lot of this hubba bubba if they just like took a step back and like didn't try to run with the punchy title of the most beloved, greatest love story, whatever you want to call it, of all time. I think if they would have like renamed it something else, even Cliff, like I think that has like, I don't know. I just think if they would have went a different route in the titling of the movie, especially because they changed so much about it from what I understand from the book, I think it would have made a much more digestible conversation online. However, wasn't in the writer's room when they did it. So like, what am I supposed to say? Like I said, I loved the movie. I loved the soundtrack. I think the acting was great. I think the cinematography was wonderful. I think everyone involved in the project did a great job. But I hear you and understand the people who are like the novelist truthers who are like, what the fuck? This is not the book that I read, because it's not the book that you read. And like, I understand that frustration. But I think if you can separate the two and you can be like, all right, there's a book, there is a movie, there is a loose tie to them, but like they are not connected, I think that's where people would be a lot more content with this movie. And those are my thoughts on Wuthering Heights. That's where I'm at. But you know, we're doing things backwards, so we still have a lot of pop culture to chat about. So grab a drink, grab a snack, let's get into this pop culture rapid fire. And I'm going to do this rapid fire because we have a lot to chat about. I already dove into this a little bit at the beginning where I said Beyonce's up to her bullshit, but Beyonce is up to her bullshit. I posted about this on Instagram. I posted about this on TikTok, but it is not real until it comes to the podcast. What is Beyonce doing? Are we getting Telephone Part 2? Because signs are pointing to yes, and I am very intrigued. So if you did not see, Beyonce has been very active online lately, which is a very scary thing because it means one thing: she's about to start asking for money sooner than you think. Like something is going to be happening with her sooner than later, and she's going to be asking for money. She's going to be dropping a tour. She's going to be dropping something, some merch, this, that, whatever it is. Something is happening with Beyonce. So she's been posting on Instagram a lot, and she was silent on Instagram for quite some time. I think the last thing she posted was from the Boy Is Mine tour, which was November, December. And then out of nowhere, she's posting like 5 times this week. She posts a happy birthday, Kelly Rowland. She posts a Valentine's Day post, which has like a Cowboy Carter graphic in it, which was a little weird and like tying into the 3 acts. So I'm like, what is going on? And then she posts not once, not twice, but 3 times from the Super Bowl. I don't think Beyonce posted 3 times from when she performed at the Super Bowl. So why is she now posting 3 times from Bad Bunny's Super Bowl? Let me tell you, let me dive into it. So in one of the carousels, the one that's really making the buzz online, she's holding a telephone in 2 photos, which, all right, cool. You're in a hotel room. There is a telephone. Sure. However, in 2 other photos in the same carousel, she is eating a burger. And now this sounds so Swiftie Easter egg crazy of me, but what does Lady Gaga say to Beyonce in the telephone music video? Once you kill a cow, you got to make a burger. What is Beyonce holding in this carousel? A telephone. What is she eating in this carousel? A burger. Things are weird. Also, who performed at the Super Bowl with Bad Bunny? Lady Gaga. Who did a lie detector test earlier this year, or last year now, saying, will we ever get Telephone Part 2? Will it be continued? And said yes. Lady Gaga. Things are just pointing to Telephone Part 2 coming on Act 3. And I'm believing it. I'm tapped in. I think I said it on here. If not, I meant to say it. I was convinced we were going to get Telephone on Cowboy Carter. It just seemed like it was going to be the album that we got it for. But now, this is clowning, and I try not to clown on the podcast, but when it comes to Beyonce, I can't help it. You know, it's who I am, and the signs are pointing to this. So I don't know. Something is happening with Beyonce and Lady Gaga right now. You cannot convince me otherwise. Also, like I said, it is the year of the horse. Beyonce is famously riding a horse on both Cowboy Carter and Renaissance's album covers. I'm sure she'll be also riding a horse on Act 3 just to like complete this trifecta and like year of the horse. Let's not forget that the Met Gala, it is her first time attending in 10 years. The Met Gala falls on May 4th, Beyonce's birthday, September 4th. 4 is a very big number of Beyonce's life. When is the only Friday of 2026? This is the 29th. May, just a few weeks after the Met Gala. We know that she has released Cowboy Carter and Renaissance on the 29th of their respective years in the month. And it's just like, something is happening. I am 90% convinced that we are getting Telephone Part 2 on Act 3. And I think it's coming. There's a lot of other things that people are picking up on, like some Tina Turner references and things like that. That I'm not going to dive into too much because I want to wait for that to be a little more present. Of course there are a lot of ties from there was the album that Tina Turner released when she was Beyonce's age, when she was 44. It was also released on May 29th, which is a little interesting. But these are all things that I'm like, all right, maybe it's a coincidence, maybe it's not. However, Beyonce posting 3 times from the Super Bowl where Lady Gaga was a special guest that was on nobody's bingo card, mind you. Nobody would have predicted that Lady Gaga was going to perform with Bad Bunny. For her to post 3 times from the Super Bowl with the burger, with the telephone during Lady Gaga's appearance at Bad Bunny's halftime, something's happening. And I think we are getting Telephone Part 2 this year. I don't know. I think it is coming. Moving on to the next moment of the week that was just too pop to handle, something that is confirmed to be coming, and I cannot believe we are living in a world where this is happening. We are officially getting a Hannah Montana 20th anniversary special on Disney Plus next month. So today, Disney Plus and Miley posted a reel of a car pulling up to the HM20. Miley gets out, and they have announced that we will be getting an entire Hannah Montana 20th year anniversary special. I am so excited. And I told you bitches, we were not getting a tour from Hannah Montana or Miley Cyrus. I have been saying this for months. Let go of this dream that Miley is touring as Hannah. It's not happening. I don't think we're getting a one night only. I don't think we're getting a tour. I truly think this special is what we are getting. And I'm fine with that. I think, I've said time and time again, I think we're going to get a little backyard session. I think Miley will perform a few Hannah songs stripped down and kind of, just more acoustic like she does with her backyard sessions, which she's going to do a sit down interview with Alex Cooper, which Alex Cooper she did call her daddy with Alex Cooper, for Endless Summer Vacation. They had a really good conversation. I don't think Alex Cooper is the best interviewer of all time, but she clearly has an impact and she has, the pull for it, and Miley's comfortable with her. So I think Miley will get really raw about the experience on Hannah with Alex. So I'm excited for that. There's a lot of, conversations online, but just be happy we're getting something and not just ugly merch like we got for High School Musical 20th anniversary. But yeah, they're hashtagging it Miley's Memories. So it's clear she's going into the archive. She's going to be going into just old memories. They're going to show never before seen footage. They said they're going to have some people showing up. This is going to be just a big celebration of Hannah Montana and everything that Hannah and Miley did for Disney Channel. And I cannot wait for it. And I say this with all due respect, but if you were not getting bullied for liking Hannah Montana and Miley Cyrus in middle school, if you were not voting for Miley Cyrus to be the special cameo in High School Musical 2, sit this one out. The Hannah Montana 20th anniversary is not for you, with all due respect. Everyone's going to jump on this bandwagon and be like, oh my God, Hannah Montana, my childhood. Unless you were there, don't jump on this nostalgia train, because I'm not having it. Everybody wants to suddenly be the biggest fan of Hannah Montana and High School Musical, the Jonas Brothers, once it's cool and nostalgic. But if you were not getting bullied for liking Hannah Montana in the 6th grade, I don't want to see you doing anything for the Hannah Montana 20th anniversary. I mean that. You could be offended. You can take that, personal. Not my problem. This is for us. Sit this one out, all right? But for those who were bullied along with me for liking Hannah Montana in 6th grade, the special will be coming out on March 24th, 2026. Now, that is a Tuesday. I'm going to tell you guys right now, March 24th, don't expect the episode until a day late. I will not be recording that night. I will be watching Hannah Montana 20th anniversary special, and we will chat all about it that week, but we will be pushed that week because I am extremely busy that night. Somebody else who was extremely busy this year, Mr. Harry Styles. So it's been announced that Harry Styles has been chosen to curate the Meltdown Festival in London this year. Past curators include David Bowie, Yoko Ono, Patti Smith, Nile Rodgers, huge names. Harry is in these are legends that he is, joining this list with. And it's not just any festival. This is the 75th anniversary of this festival, and it's the longest running artist curated festival in the UK, which is really cool. So Harry will take the artistic reins for 11 days to curate the annual multi-art festival, which spans an 11-acre site. The singer's curation will draw from his various influences, including pop, soul, electronic, and rock, to emerging young British talent. Styles will also perform a headline concert himself. So not only is Harry making this lineup, he's also performing there. So I'm really excited to see what he does and what artists he taps into for this. I think there's so many artists that Harry, even looking at his openers for this tour, they are a little off the beaten path from what from like what Harry has done in the past, but like it fits this new disco vibe that he's doing. But he, you know, they said it's going to be from pop, soul, electronic, and rock. There's going to be a big kind of array of talent at this festival, and I'm excited to see like what he puts together for this. I think this album and this era is a really transitional period for Harry. I think we're getting a totally different sound than what we're used to from him, and he is kind of diving in. I mean, even like with like Pleasing and like the way that he's evolved that. I mean, with like the vibrators and things like that, he's really taken this new creative leap with a lot of his projects, and I think this is a really cool way for him to flex his creativity and show different ways of how he appreciates art and music and understands it. And like I said, I mean, he is an insane. I mean, David Bowie has also curated this festival. Like that's insane. That's a huge name and a huge shoes to fill. And I think the fact that they are trusting Harry with this just kind of goes to show the way that the music industry really does respect him and respects his taste and you know, just like the way that he's able to curate, I hate to say this, but curate a vibe, you know. Harry Styles, one thing about Harry Styles, he knows how to curate a vibe. As much as I hate to say that, it is true. So I'm excited to see what this festival, looks like. And again, exciting that he'll be headlining it as well, because those concert tickets were impossible to get. Speaking of concert tickets, Cardi B has kicked off the Little Miss Drama Tour. And after she got online and was saying like, I'm over budget in production, don't expect Beyonce for this. Like, you know, I'm not going to give you what you guys are expecting. I don't know what she was talking about, because this tour looks like a blast in a glass. She is up there having so much fun. The choreography looks fun. She had like 5 or 6 different outfit changes, which like is not cheap. No wonder she went over her budget. Like she was up there doing her damn thing. And it's so fun to see Cardi B on stage. If you didn't know, she doesn't really tour. I don't think she's ever done like a true actual tour. She has a very crazy fear of flying. I believe she was in this type of accident where like she was in a private jet and it like dropped an elevation or something. And ever since then, she has like a fear of flying and she doesn't love to do it. So it made touring difficult for her. And I've been lucky enough. I've seen her do a headlining show twice, and then I've seen her as like a special guest twice as well. So I've seen her live 4 times, and she's just so much fun on stage. You know, she has the energy, she has the stage presence. She is such a star. So the fact that she's embarking on this tour is really exciting. And I mean, her sophomore album was so highly anticipated. I mean, it took damn near how many years? Like 7 or 8 years to get Cardi's sophomore album. And like we got, you know, singles here and there, but it took a long time. So this has been like a very anticipated album and tour and era. And I mean, with the current landscape of female rappers, Cardi B definitely has like a fast lane to just kind of like doing whatever she wants, because she isn't licking Donald Trump's asshole and like, you know, folding to this current administration like some other female rappers are. Even opening night, she's making comments about like, oh, if ICE is in the building, you know, she's like not having it. She even gets online. ICE like retweets her thing and it says like, as long as she doesn't drug and rob our agents, we'll consider that an improvement over her past behavior. And she goes online and she said, if we're talking about drugs, let's talk about the Epstein and friends drugging underage girls to rape them. Why don't y'all talk about the Epstein files? Clearly, like, she doesn't give a fuck. She is speaking out about the government, and that is more than a lot of other artists are doing, and a hell of a lot more than Nicki Minaj is doing. So you know what, Cardi B, you are getting points in my book, as she always does. I love Cardi, I do. I was in an era with Cardi where I was like really let down by the lack of music and like the lack of like releasing a second album. But when she did it, and you know, that album rollout was incredible. I feel like I talked about it so much on the podcast, on the newsletter, on TikTok. I was obsessed with that album rollout. They was just having so much fun with it, and it seemed so authentic to Cardi. And that's what this tour feels like. She kind of takes it through different eras, and she does like different acts of, you know, some of her more like Latin inspired songs, some of her more like dance inspired songs. She really has like a fun vision for this tour, and it just looks like a blast in a glass. Like I said, over the weekend she was in LA. She brought out Kehlani, Tyla. She's having fun. She's up there with her girls. I'm waiting for the night that she brings out Megan Thee Stallion. When I saw Megan at the Garden, what was that, 2024 that had to be? That was like a little while ago now. She brought out Cardi at the night that I was there, and it was so much fun. People went nuts. it was such a blast. So I'm like waiting for her to bring out Megan. She has so many collabs and so many hits with people that like she, when she brings somebody out, is going to be a good guest. And I'm waiting for the day she brings out Megan Thee Stallion. The tour just started. So if you want to go, make sure you get your tickets. I haven't plugged this in a while. So if anybody is new here, I do have a SeatGeek promo code. So if you're ever buying concert tickets for Cardi B, for Harry Styles, for anybody on tour this year, Ariana Grande, you can use code 2POP2HANDLE at checkout and save $20 off your first order. So get a ticket, save some coin on me. It is my greatest pleasure to give anybody a little bit of savings on a concert ticket, because you guys know concerts are my favorite thing to do. But I would definitely be trying to get a ticket to go see Cardi at the Garden, because it's going to be a party with Cardi, as she loves to say. Moving on to the next moment of the week that was just too pop to handle. Jesy Nelson of Little Mix is making some statements, and I have a lot of thoughts. So if you guys don't know, I was a huge fan of Little Mix in their heyday. Like, I saw them multiple times. One of the first times I ever went viral actually was because of a Little Mix, which if you know the tweet I'm talking about, you are a real one. You've been around. TLDR, my ex, this was years ago. This was when they were opening for Ariana on the Dangerous Woman tour. So what is that, 2017? I was at Little Mix. I was at the show in Chicago. They happened to, I was planning a trip to Chicago. They happened to be there the same week. So I was like, fuck it, I'm absolutely going. And during Shout Out to my ex-boyfriend called me, and he had not called me in a long time at this point. He calls me, and I was like, no way during Shout Out to my ex is he calling me. And my friend that I was with, mind you, we were plastered. It was spring break. We were rickety wrecked, and I was just cracking up in the video and showing that he was calling me while you hear Shout Out to my ex. And I posted on Twitter or whatever. Within seconds, Little Mix account follows me, retweets it, and it is going nonstop. I went to go get another drink at the bar after their set. People are coming up to me. They're like, oh my God, I just saw you on Twitter. Oh my God, I'm cracking up. This is so funny. People are taking pictures with me. It was huge. And the tweet kept going for a long time. It's one of my favorite moments that have gone viral ever in my life. That is God, that's 10 years ago at this point. Those are days of yesteryear. But anyway, I was a very big fan of Little Mix. So now seeing that Jesy Nelson is speaking up about, what happened after she left and before she left, I have a lot of thoughts. So she'd released this new docuseries on Amazon Prime called Jesy Nelson, Life After Little Mix. And she's basically saying that when she left Little Mix, she wasn't the first member who wanted to leave the group. I assume that Perry was the one who wanted to leave. I feel like Perry had the biggest hype online. People were really obsessed with her, the whole Zayn of it all. I think Perry could have gone solo back then and really made it as a solo artist. Not that she's not now, but I think that would have been the one to break out of the mold. But she said, whoever leaves first is always the person that gets the most shit. I've never been able to say. It was actually never my decision to leave first. I actually didn't want any of this to happen. This is my story of how it went. And she says, I remember we got called in for a meeting. We were called in for a meeting. It's either going to be something amazing or something really bad. And I had this gut feeling it wasn't going to be good. One of the girls had decided that they didn't want to be in the band anymore. And I just remember feeling like my whole world had fallen apart. She says, I couldn't really in that moment maybe give her the understanding and the support maybe that she needed in that moment. And that sounds really selfish because obviously the person was really feeling and going through something. But at that time, I just remember thinking I need to mentally prepare myself for how Little Mix is going to end. So if you don't know, Jesy ends up leaving Little Mix, being the first member to leave. This had to have been, I don't know, a couple years before that. She left in 2020, at December 2020, I want to say, she left Little Mix. And then Jade, Leanne, and Perry continued as Little Mix for a year or so. They did another album, they did a tour, and then that tour was their final hoorah, and they announced that they were going to take a hiatus. And then, now we have the three of them doing their solo things. I'm actually seeing Jade this week on Thursday, and I could fucking die at the thought of it. I'm so excited, but that's neither here nor there. We'll talk about that next week. But so, Little Mix, the three of them, Perry, Leanne, and Jade, kind of had this bond. So it seemed that they were so much stronger together because Jesy left and they were still going on as Little Mix. Now, Jesy leaving Little Mix, she's, it's been because of mental health, and she just, she needed to do what was best for her, which was very understood at the moment. When Jesy left the band, it was okay, yeah, understandable, it is what it is. They've been doing this for a while, and the pressure, whatever it is, it's getting to her. Totally fine. What wasn't fine is the way that Jesy acted after she left the group, specifically, not to bring her up again, but when her and Nicki Minaj collabed on Boys, and like the blackfishing of it all was one thing, but like her and Nicki would go on Instagram Live and basically like bully, specifically Leanne. Like they had a lot to say about Leanne on Instagram Live and just like approached it in such a mean girl behavior, which I mean, like, the fact that Nicki Minaj is a mean girl is not groundbreaking information. Like, I wish I would have woken up sooner and been like, wow, this woman is fucking nuts. But the way that her and Jesy acted towards the band and Leanne specifically was so truly just like ugly. And like, that's where the real problem with Jesy and the rest of Little Mix kind of came in. It wasn't that she left the group. It was like, that was fine. You needed to do what you needed to do. And like, the band ended up dismembering anyway, like a couple months later. So like that wasn't the issue. The issue was the way you handled your debut as a solo artist with Nicki Minaj. And like, I think Jessy's handled a lot of lashings online for the way that she acted. I mean, the blackfishing was fucking insane. And like the way she even made comments, she was like, I know I'm a white woman. Like, I know, like, you don't have to tell me. I understand that. Like, then why are you still blackfishing? Like, why are you still painting your face that way? Why are you still acting that way? Where's the black scent coming from? Like, it was just very bizarre. She also said that in 2020 when she left, the girls like weren't there for her as much as she would have liked. And like, when you think of 2020 in the landscape of things, like the 2020 of it all, babe, like the 2020 of it all, it was a crazy time for all of us. And like, you know, it's like, okay, cool. You're going to leave. You're going to go solo. Like, what did you want them? It almost seems like she wished they like begged her to stay and like they didn't. So she's not okay with like the way that it ended. Like she wanted them to be like, no, don't. She wanted them to beg her to be like, don't go, please stay, please, whatever. And like, I don't think that was the case. I think they were like, all right, you need to go for your mental health, go. And to me, it's just like now she's seeing the girls solo and kind of doing their thing. And it's like, now I want a slice of that. Like I don't have the success that Jade, Perry, Leanne are all having with their solo endeavors. And now she's kind of doubling down and like upset about it. And it's just like, girl, you made your bed. Like, what's the issue? And like, on top of that, she even in the docuseries admits that like when she was pregnant, the girls all reached out to her and congratulated her. She had twins and they have a genetic disorder. And when that was announced, they all texted her, she said. So like the girls clearly are fine with you. There's no bad blood. Like everything is fine. But it's just like, to me, why now are you coming out with this story? Like, what is the point of telling this story now other than just to like give a sob story, feel bad for yourself? Like the docuseries is literally called Life After Little Mix. Like, why are we hanging on to this? Like if you moved on and you were so like had such like negative things to say as a whole of the experience when you were doing like your solo shit or whatever, like why now are you trying to like crawl back to this? And I don't think she like wants the band to get back together necessarily or anything. And like, I do understand where like the fact of like that band breaking up was going to be such a devastating loss for her because that was like in their prime or like, you know, it was not their prime, but it was in their, they still had room to grow as a group, you know? And like the fact that like she found out somebody wanted to leave and then they didn't. And then she was the first to leave after her mental health got bad. Like that does suck. But like, you can't sit here and act like you were innocent and perfect after you left the group and weren't like an evil, rotted person to them after you left. You know, you don't get to have your cake and eat it too. And I just like, I'm not buying what she's selling with this. I feel bad for her. And obviously I sympathize with anybody with mental health issues, as I was just bitching about people in the 1800s who needed mental health resources. I agree here as well. It's like, if you were going through mental health things, that's one thing, but then don't get online and be evil to them and bully them back. Or, you know, it's just like, it doesn't, two wrongs don't make a right. And like, the fact that the three of them are still so close and like toured and continue to support each other solo, it's like, clearly there was not a problem with the three of them. You had to have been the issue if there was one. So it's like the trash taking itself out, you know? And like I said, I was such a huge fan of Little Mix. So like for them to stop touring and stop being a 4-part band, you know, like that was sad. And like, it isn't something that you want to live through. Luckily, I survived the Jonas Brothers breaking up, so I can survive anything these days. But like, it's still, you know, you don't want to see a band that you love dismembering, whether it's one member leaving, whether it's all of them. So I understand that part of it, but I just think this, doing a whole docuseries, like, babe, this could have been an Instagram story. This could have been a TikTok. You could have made one little, you know, do your big one on Instagram and then like call it a day. But I don't know. I just thought this was very strange behavior for her to I don't know. Something about it just rubs me the wrong way, and I am not buying what she is selling, nor will I be pressing play on this Amazon special. I'll tell you that right now. And on the topic of girl groups who have dismembered and are no longer with us, Normani made her first live performance in like a year and a half, I want to say, over the weekend at the Shoe Palace City of Angels with Adidas. And I mourn what could have been with Normani every day of my life. Every day of my life, I think about what could have been with Normani because she really was set up to be the next big thing. And like, she was on her way. Motivation was everywhere. It was huge. The VMA performance, the praise that she was getting from people were saying she was going to be the next Beyonce. And I'm like, let's not get crazy. There is only one Beyonce, but she was definitely on that route of like, girl group member leaves the group to go solo and like just kills it as a solo artist. And now I understand she hates Motivation, which like pains me because I'm like, how could you hate a song as perfect as Motivation? Maybe it wasn't her creative direction, whatever, but like knowing the way that her and her team just fumbled the bag with everything, like Normani and her team truly fumbled the bag in a way that we have never seen anybody fumble a career ever, and it truly haunts me. It breaks my heart. But seeing this performance, it brought me so much joy. She looks great. The mic could have been turned up a little bit, but we could hear her. She was clearly singing. That's fine, whatever. She looked great. She was dancing. She was up there having fun. Khalid came out and like they were performing together, and she was up there doing like Motivation and Wild Side and like even her new songs, and just like really, she was fully like just having fun on stage. And, she's had a rough kind of patch, as a lot of the Fifth Harmony girls have. I know Lauren Hareg is getting some heat right now as well, which is really upsetting because people are really judging her for her looks at the moment, and that is just not okay. But the Fifth Harmony girls have, similar to Little Mix, they've kind of been through the ringer a bit. And it's crazy. Like I was saying about like Cat's Eye on the Grammys, how like girl groups are cool again. Like Huntrix, Blackpink, Cat's Eye, all these girl groups are cool now. Fifth Harmony and Little Mix literally were like, they were leading the front in girl groups in the like 2010, 2015s. And like, we don't talk about it enough. The way that the two of them were like, it was not cool to be in a girl group when Little Mix and Fifth Harmony were in a girl group. And they still did it. And they were pushing along, making great music. And things didn't work out the way that they wanted to. But like, if Little Mix or Fifth Harmony debuted today, I think they would be on top of the world. Like, it would be such a different timeline for them. Maybe that's a whole other episode I do about like girl groups. That could be a fun Substack post. I'm going to bookmark this in my head and, we'll come back to it. But just seeing Normani back on stage and like her outfits, the choreo, like she is a star. And I'm really hoping this kind of like triggers something in her to like get back on stage, get back in the studio. And like, yeah, Dopamine didn't do great, but like, they didn't do anything to promote that album. That is on them. The album was good. I enjoyed it. I just think if she gets like a new team and a new approach at how she tackles her music, I just think Normani can really be the NBT, the next big thing. And I am crossing my fingers and hoping to God that we get a Normani renaissance because we need it in the world. And that wraps up our moments from the week that were just too pop to handle. It feels so weird doing this out of order. Like I said, like if this is your first episode, I usually do things flipped around a bit. So it feels a little weird that we're going from like rapid fire into our TV recap, but like I said, it's my show. I can do what I want. And we are now heading into our TV recap, which means it is another day in the workroom and we are recapping RuPaul's Drag Race season 18. So we are just coming off the Rated Queen talent show and Mikey Meeks is plucked. She is so hurt by the way that these girls voted, and for good reason. Like I said last week, Mikey should not have been in the bottom. There was no reason for that. She didn't give a bottom performance. Her runway did not give bottom. It was just the way that the girls voted. So she walked into this workroom. Her shirt says revenge, and she is ready to swing on these girls. To nobody's surprise, they get into the workroom, and what is on the table waiting for them but the Rated Queen results, which we knew was coming. Like Ru always ends up giving the girls the Rated Queen results so they can see who voted for who. We knew this was coming, and I love when they do this messy shit. And this season feels even messier because they did Rated Queen like 6 or 7 episodes in after they already knew each other. Like Rated Queen is usually first episode, like max, like that is usually when they do it. And the fact that they did it a little bit into the season really just made the plot thicken. So like these Rated Queen results are hot off the press, the hottest ticket item you can find in a 100-mile radius. And I am living for it. Something I feel like they really brushed over way too quick is the fact that Vita put Discord fourth. And like, yes, Vita did say to Athena that like she was voting based on talent, not on alliances, but she literally said, Discord is my girl, so I'm going to put her at a higher ranking. And then they open to the page and Discord on her page, Vita has fourth. I'm like, just because you put her last doesn't mean you gave her a higher ranking. That just means you didn't put her last. Like a high ranking is 1 or 2 when there's 5 spots on the page. You literally put her fourth. Like you put her second to last. They looked over that way too fast. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're just going to brush past that and not let it come up. But if it comes up later in the season, you heard it here first. I still don't understand the alliances. I don't get how they do this. This is PEMDAS. I don't get how they're like carrying the 1, divided by 2, square root of 3. And then, you know, I'm like, what the fuck are they doing with these alliances? They're better than me. I could not. Once we, you know, go through the Raid to Queen result, Ru comes in and says that they will be doing a political parody commercial with each other. So they're pairing up in teams. And just like anytime the girls have to fend for themselves this season, we are seeing that the girls cannot make a decision because Mia and Darlene start going at it because they want the same sketch. And now I think Mia had a very fair argument saying that like Darlene has gotten everything she'd wanted every single week that they've had to, you know, assign somebody something. And I think the fact that like Darlene and Vita would not back down from it was, I mean, yes, stand your ground as a competition, but like, give Mia what she wants. Like, it was a padding thing. Mia literally wears tits that are like 3 times the size of any normal human being. Like, it's teetering Jimbo. Give her the padding sketch, you know, like, especially with her and Juicy being paired up together. Like, Juicy does not put a pad on to save her life, and Mia pads as if her life depends on it. Like, this sketch was written for them. I mean, spoiler, they ended up like completely shredding it, but like that's neither here nor there. They didn't know that was going to happen. I was shocked the fact that like Vita and Darlene were so like, nope, not happening. They ended up getting it, and like I do think that agreement was a little crazy for like Mia to be like, all right, anything in the past and anything coming up, like you get it, it's all you, because that kind of puts Mia in like a very uncomfortable situation, because now going forward, if there's another acting challenge, girl group challenge, you know, not that there will be, but like if there's another challenge where they have to be assigned something, Mia's getting the shitty end of the stick. So I feel like she just put a target on her back in that sense, but not my circus, not my monkeys. On the runway this week, the theme is I Can See Right Through Her, and we start off with Jane Don't. I like this a lot. I thought it was very unique, and a face kini is not an easy thing to pull off, but I thought she looked great. I thought it was really fun. It was definitely a little campy, kind of club kitty, but like it was fun. I like this a lot. Next up, we had Kenya. Nope. Did not like this at all. It was not poorly put together. It looked cheap. I did not like it. It was lazy, and like it could have been cute if it was executed properly, but it was not executed at all. It wasn't good. Did not like this at all. Kenya has been slipping lately, and it's really making me upset because I think she is fabulous, but not for me. Next up, we had Juicy. This was the opposite. This was absolutely fabulous. The way that it moved, the color on her, that wig was so cool. This was really, really fabulous. Juicy she is making me proud. I told you guys she is the one that I was watching from the beginning because I know her from online previously, and I am loving what she is bringing to this competition. Next up, we had Mia Star, and I like this a lot. The glasses were fun. They looked a little DIY. You know, they definitely were not like the best constructed things, but I thought it was fun and thought it was silly, especially like I can see right through her kind of vibe. Like, I thought this was fun, thought this was cute. I really like this a lot. The next queen to walk the runway, we had Darlene Mitchell. I fucking loved this. I cannot put into words how much I love this. It was cheap in the best way possible. It was tacky in the best way possible. It was a little Rocky Horror, a little camp, just silly, stupid fun. It was drag, and that is what I like to see on the runway. Darlene Mitchell, I am obsessed with you, and I'm just loving everything she's bringing to this competition. Like I'm obsessed with her. Next up, we had Vita, and I like this. I wanted it to be a little better, knowing what we know Vita can do, especially like what Vita did for her design challenge. That was so incredible. Like, I do hold her to a higher standard of the other queens because of what she has shown us so far. This wasn't bad by all means. There were definitely worse things on the runway, but I was just like, I don't know. This wasn't her best, but again, it was not the worst thing on the runway, so I'll give her that. Next up, we had Athena, and I really like this. I really like the fabric that she used, like the way that it like looked in the light, the way it was gold underneath, and it had this like fun sheer kind of vibe to it. I don't know what to call it, but I really like this. I like the little glasses, and it was a really good week for her. I really, really like this look. Next up, we had Mikey, and I don't care what anybody says, I loved this look. Was it simple? Yes. But it was fun. It was drag. It was silly. It was great. I love this look. I thought it was just fun. I don't know. People online were like, this was so simple and a cop out to do it. But it's like, she did the challenge and she looked great doing it. Why are we mad that she thought outside the box a little bit and didn't like reinvent the wheel? She just like put on a clear dress and called it a day. Like, she still looked great. I don't know. I love this look. I loved it. Mikey killed it this week for me. And then we had Discord. I see what she was going for, but it's that standard of look in the mirror and take one thing off. She needed to edit a little bit. It was just a lot going on, and I didn't know what to look at. Like, I didn't know what to admire about this look. It was just like where Mikey, you can argue, was like not enough, which I don't agree with, but like I can see where you could be like, that's not enough. Discord was too much. It wasn't, I don't know, did not love this. It threw me off. And then finally, Nene fucking Coco. Maybe it's my sweet tooth. Maybe it's the fact that I love candy. I loved this look. This was fabulous. The way that it fit her, the little kitty cat wig underneath, the way that she took off the little wrapper from her head. I absolutely loved this look. Nene Coco, I am obsessed with you. I'm always so excited for what she's going to do on the runway. She's giving me what I need this season, and it's Nene Coco's world right now. I am loving what she is bringing to this show. I think she is fantastic. And then moving into these sketches, first we had Jane and Kenya paired up, and their bill that they were trying to pass or whatever it was adding the letter C to LGBTQIA for the word clown. Jane nailed this. She is so funny, and she knows her strength. She knows where to add the emphasis and knows where to make the little jokes, and she broke character a few times on purpose, and like, it was just so smart. She really did this. She did this on a different level of acting, and it was great. I absolutely love this. Jane is another one to watch this season. I'm obsessed with her. And then we had Kenya. This was hysterical. I mean, Kenya oozes star power. Like, she is truly a superstar, and like her delivery, her facial expressions, the words that she was like exaggerating and elongating were genius the way that she did it. This was a really strong pairing. Both of them did incredible separately, but just putting them together, this was great. Next up, we had Mia and Juicy for Prop Double D. This was okay. So Juicy was very nervous while she was filming, and she was fumbling a lot. And I was really nervous for what we were going to get in the final edit. They were able to save her in the end with the edit. The edit was on her side, which isn't always the case. Sometimes you got to blame it on the edit, famously. And the edit did save her. It did come together, but you could tell she struggled a little bit, but it was better than I expected. And then Mia, I thought she was hilarious. I thought this was really, really funny. I really enjoyed her performance. This is her character, like, she is this person, and she loves her padding, and it was easy for her to play, which I think made her not stand out as much, but it still was a great performance, like, she didn't have to do much to play into it, but it was still great. I was laughing, and it was really, I really did like this performance from Mia. The next pairing we had was Darlene and Vita doing Prop for Real, so social media queens, either for them or against them. Darlene Mitchell, you are everything to me. She is so hysterical. And the fact that she is primarily a bedroom queen right now, she keeps saying, like, I haven't been out in bars performing. I've been seeing her out and about a little bit now, like, now that the show is airing, which is what you need to do. But she did say when she came in, like, I haven't really been out in the circuit doing bars and stuff. I've been more of a bedroom queen. So I thought that was really funny because she was really able to play into the role similar to Mia, but she wasn't just herself. She really committed to a character, and she took Michelle's notes of adding that element of, like, turning it on for the camera and then turning it off for the little, like, side notes and the little sidebars. I thought this was brilliant the way that she did it. She is hysterical. Darlene Mitchell, I love you. And then Vita, this fell flat for me, which really breaks my heart because Vita was one of my favorites this season. I think she is so talented, and you could just tell she kind of got in her head. Like, it was, I don't know, it was kind of one note. And looking at Darlene and then her back to back, it just like, it was really, it was apples and oranges. You know, it was two totally different approaches. And it was sad to watch because Vita's so talented. But this week just wasn't a great week for her. Spoiler alert. Then we had Mikey and Athena doing Prop 6969, or whether they're here or not here for foreign trade. Athena played this Southern role so well. Like, she was really committed to the bit and she was funny with it. Like, she really had a good sense of humor and her jokes were so perfectly landed every single time. This was a really good week for Athena. And I liked her look a lot. She looked really good in the red and the blonde. I thought it was a really fab look on her and a really great performance overall. Really good job for Athena this week. And then the star of the week, we got to give it to her, Mikey Meeks. She walked into that workroom this week ready for revenge, and boy, did she take it. This was hysterical. She had a killer week. There was like a personality, there was a character. Everything she did was so funny, and she just went for it. Like, she didn't hold back. She went all out for it, and it was just great. I loved it. It was well thought out. There was a concept, there was a character, and she committed to the character and played her so well. This was a great week for Mikey. I loved this. And then the final pairing is Discord and Nene. Discord was really funny this week. She really surprised me with this. Like, her bit with like the whispering or whatever was very funny, very Alaska, with her perfume, whatever, like just a funny way to approach it. And like, she did a really good job with this week, for this challenge. And then Nene was very funny as well. She had a clear character. She stuck with it. She was really committed to the bit, and her and Discord really bounced off each other very well. I thought they were obviously doing opposing views on it, but I think the way that they kind of counteracted each other really added to the comedy of their sketch, and I thought they were a really great pair. I really, really enjoyed this whole sketch. We come to find out that the winner of the week is Miss Mikey Meeks. She was coming in for revenge, and girl, she got it. And then the bottom two, this was crazy. Juicy Love Dion and Vita. Now, I do agree the two of them deserve to be in the bottom, but let's call it what it is. If you are up against Juicy Love Dion in a lip sync, start packing your bags, because I don't care who you are, you're gonna go home. Like, she is the textbook definition of a performer. And like, as much as I loved Vita, as soon as they announced the bottom two, I was like, damn, I guess this is it for Vita. Like, not that Vita wasn't great, not that Vita isn't talented, but like, it's Juicy Love Dion. And let me tell you, this lip sync to Houdini, I couldn't take my eyes off of her. She is so captivating. Like, the way that Juicy performs on a stage should be studied. Like, she is so good at what she does and so incredibly talented and captivating and so in tune with her body and knows how to really bring a song to life. She is making me so proud to be a Juicy stan from the beginning. There were a few weeks where I was a little scared. I didn't know what was going on with Juicy. She was a little spotty, I'll admit it, but she has really been, I mean, me praising her as she's in the bottom, but like, Juicy Love Dion being in the bottom just means we're going to get to see Juicy Love Dion lip sync. And like, that is a win to anybody. This was, I mean, incredible. And like, again, it is crazy that Vita is leaving. Like, Juicy obviously wins, but like, I thought Vita was making it to top 4. I really did. I was convinced that Vita was going to be a front runner. I didn't think she would have won at this point in the competition, but I did think she was going to end up in the finale. So I was gagged to see her go home at this point in the competition. But like I said, if you're lip syncing against Juicy Love Dion, just start packing your bags, because she's gonna send you packing. And moving from the workroom into the castle, moving on to our Traitors recap. So where we left off last week, Rob was trying to recruit Eric, and I did realize that the ultimatum was either he becomes a traitor or he gets murdered. Obviously he becomes a traitor, and signs up to, do this with Rob. And the fact that they immediately had to murder somebody is crazy. Like, the fact that Eric literally just found out that Rob was a traitor and then has to go and murder somebody in the turret, I was like, talk about whiplash. He was just best friends with these people 3 minutes ago, and now he's going to murder somebody. They ended up murdering Dorinda, which broke my heart, but I am very happy that she lasted as long as she did. I think we got a lot of really good screen time with her this season, especially considering last season she got voted out so early, or murdered so early, whatever. So I am very happy to see that she made it this far. I understand, now we are down to the wire. There's only a few episodes left, so they really do need to start just like, people who aren't necessarily like, they just need to start getting people out of the castle. So I understand, but it still hurts. I love Dorinda. She was a treat to have on this show, and I'm sad to see her go, but someone's got to get murdered, and this week it was Dorinda. So that's that. The challenge this week, that was crazy. The fact that they were all in those boxes and then Eric and Rob would get out of them each time. They should have had them like pre-answer these questions, but I guess that adds to the suspense of it. But like, I was holding my breath every time they opened those boxes. And I mean, they definitely added some sound effects to them. It definitely wasn't that creaky opening the boxes, but they were like running on the grass, like free willy, as if they weren't like trying to hide their identities. I was like, can you guys walk with some lighter feet? Like, that was nuts. The fact that they had to get out of the box every single time, I was sweating. Also the way that they like teamed up on Tara and just try to like paint that target on her. I don't know what their total goal was with that, but like, that was very crazy that they literally pinned Tara down every single time in that challenge. I was like, oh, they are gunning for this. Speaking of Tara, I think the whole thing that her and Johnny did of like coming forward about them being best friends, I think it's going to bite them in the ass, because like, just like Rob said, and I thought this before you even said it, but like, now it just shows the rest of the faithfuls, like the two of them can keep a secret and lie to people without a problem. The fact that like they didn't tell everybody that they were best friends, and then they come clean at the round table like that, I think it does put a target on their back. However, Johnny did kind of lead that round table, and like he does really know how to command them. So I don't know how fast everybody will turn on him and or Tara, but like I think they need to be smart about the way that they keep moving through this castle, because I do think they're kind of, now that they're a duo, I think it's going to put a target on their back a little bit more, which I love Johnny. I've been a fan of Johnny Weir for years, and of course, just in part with that is Tara as well. But like, I don't want to see them go, but we are rooting for the Traitors because Rob is killing it, but it's a tough game being a viewer, because you're just like, who do you root for? Like it's tough. Then we see Steven get banished. And like I said, Johnny really gave us what we want. Like Johnny was kind of leading that and kind of driving everybody into the Steven of it all. I think Steven has had a target on his back for a little while, and now it's finally kind of just like catching up to him and growing more, especially like with the banquet. People were kind of looking at him and thinking he could have been a traitor, and I think just, his name's been thrown around a couple of times, and at this point in the competition, we're down to what, like 6 or 7 people in the castle. Like, people are going to start thinking you're a traitor, even if you're breathing the wrong way, if you're walking a weird way. Like, people are going to just start picking up on anything. And I just think his time was coming. And I'm honestly surprised he lasted this long, because I thought the traitors would have murdered him, or they would have went for him at the round table sooner, especially after the banquet. But his time has come. And you know whose time I think is coming next? Eric. I think, especially after the conversation that he had with Natalie, I think she's going to start turning everybody around on him. And I do think we're going to see Rob do traitor on traitor crime again and fully vote Eric out, even though he just recruited him. I think we're going to see him totally like turn his back on him. And I think we're going to watch Rob kind of like keep killing the traitors, bringing somebody in, getting them out, bringing somebody in, getting them out. And like, I feel like Rob's going to like Millie rock his way through the rest of these few episodes and just like really come out on top. I don't see a world where Rob doesn't win this, honestly. Like, and I'll eat my words, but like, he's really playing a strong game. And the fact that they're on to Eric already and they haven't been on to Rob once, I think he's going to turn on Eric and be like, no, I'm sorry, I can't have him in the turret. You're out. And he's going to turn on him at the table. And he has the power of the dagger. So like, his next vote must be either the next vote or the one. No, but I think it's this is the last time he can use it. I want to say this episode. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But like, the dagger is going to come into play. Like, there's really playing an incredible game. But that being said, we have made it to the final segment of this week's episode. It is time for my yes and my mess of the week. We end every episode with something I am loving, my yes, and something I am not loving, my mess. And we always start things on a high note here at Too Pop to Handle. So my yes this week is this whole story with Teyana Taylor and that influencer who tried to recreate her hair and failed. So if you didn't see, this influencer made a video of her trying to recreate Teyana Taylor's short, almost like the Betty Boop style hair that she did at one of the carpets she's walked recently. I mean, she is all over the place, but she did this like cute little short hair vibe that she did. And she tried to recreate it and she failed. It did not look anything like Teyana Taylor's hair. And so after Teyana saw this video, she flew herself and her entire glam team out to this influencer's house and made an entire video showing her how to do the hair that way. And it came out gorgeous. And this was such a fun side of the internet. You know, the internet is a scary place to be, but then you see a story like this and it's just like, wow, it can be a fun place. And it can be, you know, a place where like there is some wholesome content. Like Teyana saw this woman struggling to recreate her hair and she was like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to fly down there and show her how to actually do it. And like the fact that Teyana took the time out of her schedule, I mean, she is literally in one of the most Oscar buzziest movies ever right now. She's like doing these premieres left and right. She's doing all these events and like she took the time to fly down to this woman's house, fly her glam team down and completely just give her this makeover. Like it was such a wholesome moment. And I love Teyana Taylor. I've been a fan of her for years, but like this just like made me love her and appreciate her even more. I feel like she is such a gem, you know what I mean? She's been in this industry forever. I mean, we all know Super Sweet 16. She's been in this game for a very long time, but seeing that she's still kind of humble the way that she is, it's really reassuring. And just like, it's nice to see people have a heart like that. You know, it was just such a fun story. If you haven't seen these videos, just search like Teyana Taylor hair influencer or something of that nature. It'll come up. It's such a fun video and really, really sweet the way that they went about it. And my mess this week, we need to have a conversation because movie etiquette is out the fucking window. Like I said, I did a double feature this weekend of Wuthering Heights and Pillion. I know I've said it a million times, whatever. I'm sitting in the theater for Wuthering Heights and I am 3 minutes into the movie. Literally, like, we are just in the opening scenes and I realize the man next to me is on his phone and I immediately clocked this is going to be an issue. And when I tell you him and his partner, girlfriend, friend, whoever he was with, the woman that he was with, were on their phones and talking to each other, like having a conversation the entire time. I just don't understand where people find the audacity to act this way in a public setting. We are not at home. We are not on your couch. We have all paid to come to this theater for magic, as Nicole Kidman would say. And you were going to sit here and ruin the magic they were like Googling things about the movie and the book in the middle of the movie. It's like, watch the movie. You're missing half the plot. And I'm like, if you take your phone out in a movie theater to Google, to text, to do anything, please don't come to the movie theaters. Like, it is not cheap to go to the movies. Don't ruin it for everybody else. And like, not for nothing, these people literally left probably an hour and 20 minutes into the movie. So I spent an hour and 20 minutes with their phone light in my face and hearing them whisper about the movie the entire time. And then they don't even stay for the whole movie. Like, they come into the movie, watch not even half of it. They literally watched less than half of this movie and then left. And I just like, what is the point of that? What is the point of that? Like, why come into this theater with all these people, especially opening weekend of one of the most anticipated movies of the moment right now? Like Wuthering Heights, the movie theater was packed out, which we love to see. We love to see a packed theater, but like the movie theater was packed. And these people come in, are on their phones, are talking, are whispering, are Googling, are this, that, and the third, and then leave less than halfway through. Like, why did you come in and shake up the theater only to then leave and not even finish to see the end of the movie? It's crazy. And like, I've heard my friends talking about this happening at Broadway theaters, people like talking during the show and singing along during the show. If you don't have theater etiquette, don't go to the theater. Not a movie, not a Broadway show, not an off-Broadway show, not a high school production. I don't want to see you in a theater if you don't know how to act. And like, people don't know how to act and people don't know how to stay off their phone for more than 10 minutes. And it is really crazy. And as somebody who works on his phone in every aspect of his life, in my 9 to 5, in my content creation, like, I am on my phone a lot. If you can't sit through a 2.5-hour movie without your phone, please seek help. That is a problem. Like that is a epidemic that we are experiencing in the world right now. And we need to talk about it more because it is bad. It was so frustrating trying to watch this movie and these people are texting. I can't. I don't understand. I don't get where people have the audacity. And that is my mess for the week, which means we have made it to the end of this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of Too Pop to Handle. If you liked what you heard and you're listening to us as a podcast, please go ahead and leave me a 5-star rating. It would seriously mean the world to me. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe, drop a comment, drop a like, hit all the buttons except unsubscribe, dislike. You guys know the drill. We only want positivity here at Too Pop to Handle. If you would like some extra moments of the week that were just too pop to handle in between podcast episodes, make sure you head over to our Substack. It is toopoptohandle.substack.com. I will have it linked down below. And subscribe to my weekly newsletter Popping In, where I share extra moments of the week that were just too pop to handle in between podcast episodes. And if all of that is not enough, you can always follow me on social media at Andrew Nucatola or at Too Pop to Handle across all platforms. And with that, I will catch you guys next week. Bye!